Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and by George, normally I would be talking to my host today. Well, not my host today, but my guest today. She would have been a host here with the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm talking about Renee Dixon, and however, because she's out there doing her research and her work in regards to our issues here in Portland, Metropolitan Portland. I thought Portland, Metropolitan Portland. I give it the whole deal aspect of it. And there are many issues here. And just trying to get folks to come in and respond to those issues and talk to some, getting people more aware, especially those elected officials, aware of what their needs are in regard from a citizen standpoint. It's been hard to do. So guess what? She's going out there and she's taking the second step. So she's now she's a bona fide citizen, taxpayer, and the like. She lives in she lives in an area here in Portland, and so consequently, she's got issues. She's got the issues. She's talked about them. She's researched them and everything. So we're going to interview her. So rather than being a host today, she's going to be a concerned citizen.
Nope.
Concerned
That's who I am.
In Multnomah County, Portland, Multnomah County, because the two are based in the same area. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and she's here with me. Welcome, Renee. Appreciate it very much. Rochelle. Oh, okay.
It was almost Renee, but not quite.
So, Rochelle. Okay. So anyway, we're going to go on and just have this good conversation with her. We're going to spend an hour on this, and we're going to go from square one to whatever, because the whole idea is that what was her rationale to begin with? That's how we'll start off with. Why were you, all of a sudden you got concerned about talking to issues that we've already elected individuals to be able to respond to these issues?
Very true.
Okay.
So we're well aware that Portland as a city has issues with homelessness, with drug use, with crime.
Right.
Most cities of our size do have issues in those areas. The unfortunate truth is ours probably got a little worse than some cities,
Okay.
and our response was to try and reorganize and to try and get a grip on it, ensuring that we had more people to handle it from city council, making sure that we had the right people in the county.
Right.
Unfortunately, as the years have gone on, and I do mean years, okay, so it's 2025, COVID was in 2020, we have just not made gains into those areas.
Really?
No. So homelessness is growing. They talk about homelessness and unsheltered homelessness. So unsheltered homelessness is what you can see on the street, right?
Right.
You can see those people on the street. And what you can see on the street represents about 10% of the people who are actually unsheltered on any given night. So there are thousands of people, like 5,800 to 6,000 people unsheltered on the streets in Portland each and every night.
Wow, really?
Yeah, those numbers, they're a little dated, but they came from the PSU study.
Oh, PSU, so you got PSU,
Yeah.
okay.
PSU, Portland State University, which did the study back on homelessness. And the interesting thing about that is they developed all these plans. I remember in like 2018 there was going to be a 5-year plan. It's 2025. No one has mentioned the completion of a 5-year plan or the extension of a plan. They just rapidly go on to create another plan. I want to know what happened to the 5-year plan 7 years ago.
Who was responsible during that time? Was it the city and the county?
It was actually a mixture of both. So I'm going to say the county probably had more responsibility at that time for the initiatives that I was speaking to.
So who was sitting in that seat at that point in time, the chair? I think.
You're going to make me go back.
Okay.
You're going to make me go back. But I'm more concerned with who's sitting in the chair now.
Today.
Because what happened is we're getting in new people. Because the old people maybe weren't what we wanted. So we're going to elect this new body of people, and they're going to do this job.
Right.
And here we are, and it's still not being done.
Right.
So I think shame on us fool me once, you know? So I just don't think that they're up to the task. And that's a horrible thing to say, because I know and adore many of the people on the city council, and I think they do a great job in some areas. Not all of us are experts in every area. And this new form of government doesn't seem to establish an expert for the area. You've got the mayor, you got the auditor, and then you have the city council members who,
And
I
more
gather,
people, and more people
Yes.
at the city.
working on their initiatives in their part of the city. And some things I imagine they're working together on, because they affect all parts of the city. They're not working effectively. And all you need to do to know they're not working effectively is see that there are no solutions coming out of city council. The end. So I can't really point fingers and say who stopped this and who stopped that. I do notice that some of the city councilors were right to ask about, for example, the mayor's housing program. That there's going
And
to be.
what is it? What? Just for some of the
So
folks.
Mayor Keith Wilson proposed. He ran on a platform, if you remember.
Right, I remember that was his platform.
His platform
That was
was
his focus.
ending unsheltered
Right.
houselessness. So, what he did when
Within
he
a
got.
year's time, yeah.
Pardon?
Within a year's time, right?
Yeah. So what he did when he was elected was he told folks that he would have 1,500 beds.
Okay.
And those 1,500 beds, he'd get those by December of 2025. So here we are, it's August. Only as of July 31st, only 16% of that commitment had been fulfilled. And when you look at it, it's not really 16%. Well, I guess that's 16%, but that's 16% in 6 months. So in another 6 months, what would that be, 32%? If he doubled what he did last time, it'd be 32% plus 16, 48%. That'd be less than half of what he promised. Now, that's not a good record. I can't imagine that any job would retain an employee that at their best could do 16% of their job.
Did he pick up his budget during that particular time to be able to respond to the issues that he was talking to?
Is the budget there for
The
this?
budget, yes, it's supposed to. In fact,
Yes, the budget is there.
Yeah, I brought it up because there was something about 500 and some thousand dedicated, if you will, to sanctuary cities, as opposed to some of his. So he had to try to figure out, how do I get my money to do this, etc. But basically, there are other issues in the city. Anyway,
Yeah, so houselessness is one that touches also the criminal element,
right.
because first of all, the police are spending way too much time with the houseless. They're not social workers. What they're there to do is enforce the law. That's all they're there to do. And although we try and expand their role, we really need to expand the role of housing. We need to expand the role of drug addiction treatment. We really need to expand the role of, so the police can't do it all. And that's where we tend to dump society's problems on. So we have the criminal thing going on as well. In addition, I do think perhaps there are some challenges with Sanctuary City that I hadn't realized before. So you may have heard, in a surprising move, Mayor Keith Wilson, let me go back to January 25th.
Okay.
He said, 2025, he said he would make sure that all citizens were safe and supported in Portland. That was the statement that he gave. At the time, I believed it. I'd only met him a few times, but he seemed very pleasant to me, very nice. And what I realized in July was that actually wasn't correct, because there was an initiative that came down from the federal government, and they said remove some of the language relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. And a lot of people were upset because that language includes the disabled, It includes people of color. There's special populations, right? LGBTQ. Some people were for it, some people were against it. But regardless, the government said to do that. Now, the state could choose not to do it. The city can choose not to do it. But they may lose federal funding.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. 350,000. Someone said $350 million, and someone else suggested it could be as high as 400 million. Now, at the time when the mayor made that decision, I thought, okay, it's a tough one because I really support having a diverse workforce.
Now, did the city council folks, did they endorse that? Did they sign off on that?
Well,
I'm throwing that out because
and
the reason why I brought that up was because in the seat that he's sitting right now, all city council folks are sitting in the mayor's seat.
Yes.
Because he's not the lead guy that basically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm unsure because I went and tried to look at this information from backwards. I didn't look at it forward because I just knew in my heart they were all going to do the right thing because they said what they were going to do. I didn't check to see if they actually did what they said they were going to do. So I just happened to be reading some articles and just going over some things, and he said, well, you know, he was going to change the language a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, change the language. That'll probably work because if you're really being equitable, it's fair to everyone. We just don't have to change our behavior. We can be equitable to everyone. So it said he'd met with his community partners and he'd been advised, and someone said that this was, you know, perhaps
city commissioners. They all sitting in the same seat, and I remember that.
It did not mention the names in this article.
But there has to be the city council.
Well, I'm not so sure. I'd like to know.
Yeah. I mean,
and here's why I'd like to know, because it says in this letter to community partners, I want to know who those community partners are. The commissioners already were knowledgeable, so why would send a letter out to the commissioners? Clearly, this went to a separate group of people. Who are these community partners? So I tried to click on the link that was highlighted, and it didn't go anywhere. It led me back to the same letter, and I thought perhaps it's a technical difficulty. I think it might be a glitch on their end that the city needs to take care of, but I didn't try calling because that would have been like 2 days worth of work that I could not do.
You're talking to him now.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't sit there to say, hey, there's a glitch on your website.
Right, it's very important.
So I was like, who is the community partner? Are these elected officials? One of my concerns is at the federal level, we had this Elon Musk, Trump, that did not go well, partnership. And we had Department of Governmental Efficiency. And the complaint that most people had was that Elon Musk was not elected to do anything. Now, most people are also aware that the president can appoint people, but their argument, mostly the liberal argument, was that he was not elected to do anything, and they would like to be informed of what is going to happen before it happens, like giving him his Social Security numbers. So, what are their clearance, all that. I kind of felt the same way when I clicked on this link that said community partners, and I was like, who are these partners and who is this community? Because I'm not sure he spoke to my community.
But I'm just using what's there.
Yes.
From a citizen saying, commissioners, okay, 12 of them, and the fact that the mayor is not sitting like our own city commissioner, where he was in charge. He basically put down the issues that were discussed, bring it to city council, he can, whatever, but he was in charge, and there was only one person sitting in that seat. But because under this new form of government, that's not the case.
It gets worse.
Yes. So consequently, you got all city council folks that are sitting in that same seat.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Talk to us.
So I say to myself, well, that's a really serious problem. It's unfortunate DEI goes.
Yeah.
I'm understanding. I even put that on Facebook to my friends. I'm going to have to recant that. Because shortly thereafter, when sanctuary city status came up, and the same funding was up for potential loss. A lot of this funding goes to housing and transportation. So it's very, very vital that we get it, which is why I was like, I'm going to grit my teeth and go through this DEI thing, right? I don't like it, but probably much won't change. But the sanctuary city status, they said, well, we're not going to follow along with the federal administration. And we potentially will lose this amount of money. There are lawsuits. Oregon has lawsuits against the Trump administration for stating that they could potentially lose this money. But his response, compared to his response with DEI, was lackluster. He said he would give in to the Trump administration here, and then over here he's going to fight the Trump administration. I have no idea the chaos that is going on. I also do not know, has he been briefed by the Trump Association? Is there no risk with Sanctuary City? Does the federal government know something we don't know? I don't know. How would we know? How do we know? Do you know?
Well, we know one thing. He's got a platform that he said that he ran on. He said, I'm going to do this. 15, as you say, 1,500 beds, right? Got me? And he needs some money. And so I think that, as you say, he might have argued, his point was, hey, look, I need that money for citizens, for U.S. citizens, if you will, as opposed to illegals. Because that's what you're talking about with the sanctuary city. I know you know that the administration is trying to basically say they want to do away with the whole issue of sanctuary cities.
Well, the sanctuary city, originally the idea and the concept that I had for sanctuary city was that the police and the government here, the local government, would not spend our city funds
right.
cooperating with the federal government, because the federal government should spend their own money. And that made sense to me, that the money would stay within the city.
But the taxpayers are paying both, though.
Yes, but I did not realize that if a heinous crime had been committed, that our city would not cooperate with federal officers to get that crime solved. So I had only thought of one part of it, because that part I was mostly exposed to. Like most of us, we're exposed to the immigrants that we like, we know, we live in their neighborhoods. I married an immigrant. So that was my experience. And so I had a very positive experience of immigration. I did feel like a long time ago that immigration policy needed to be changed, because asylum seekers needed to be prioritized, and people coming for economic reasons needed to be deprioritized. And in spite of what many people believe, the bulk of people who come are not asylum seekers. I remember back, I'm going to date myself, but I remember back in the 70s when we had a large amount of Vietnamese and Hmong individuals come as refugees. So they were fleeing political parties and things like that. So what we have now is people fleeing for a better life. So, for example, perhaps I would like to live in Paris. And if Paris would allow me to stay in Paris without the proper paperwork, it would be cheaper for me, and also I might work for a different wage because I don't have the proper paperwork.
But there are benefits. There's some benefits.
Yeah, so that encourages, a little wrongdoing sometimes. So we need to streamline that process to get asylum seekers through much, much sooner. And the thing is, we think, it's a federal issue. It doesn't affect people in Portland. Well,
it does.
If you have states like Arizona imposing laws that say if you're an illegal immigrant, you cannot have these benefits. And you have states like Washington. California has gone the other way. But where do you think people will come in the West if they have to remove themselves from those situations? So some people are going to self-deport if they feel uncomfortable, and some people are just going to self-deport to the next sanctuary city, which in Portland happens to be us. I don't understand enough about the drawbacks of the sanctuary city on its own. I do understand that means that there will be a loss of ability of the federal administration to fight crime. So, for example, and I am going to bring this up, and this is going to be harsh for a lot of people. It's harsh for me.
You're a taxpayer, you're
So-
a citizen, you can say,
Imagine on 9/11, and I'm a 9/11 survivor,
okay.
okay? So imagine on 9/11 when I was fleeing, and this is what angers me. I'm taking a little bit personally. 9/11, if the individuals that had plotted 9/11
Okay.
were in a sanctuary city where the sanctuary city had information, but decided not to share it with the federal government.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, think about it. Now, let's think about it. What you just got through saying. Remember, before the issue, this big issue here, you hear the numbers, 20 million or so illegals aspect there. There were individuals, and two terms, one under the Reagan administration and one under the Bush administration, that gave them citizenship. Those two groups. I was there. In fact, I worked with, Governor Kulingoski was trying to basically help him with the language. That's where that whole issue with English as a second language, which I don't agree with, but you know my point. All this kind of thing. My point is that those folks were given the opportunity to be citizenship without going through the process. Now, those folks got jobs, they went to school, they got college degrees, the whole 9 yards. Now they're American citizens. But that culture, it's that culture. And a lot of folks don't remember. But a lot of the folks who are coming in here now in a legal standpoint, they have access to people. They know people. They know parents, they know relatives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't see that many folks that are sitting in a homeless kind of a situation because they've got folks here. A mother can't leave her child. You know, we got that law aspect of it. No, there's no. The fact of it is that it says on the books you can you can have your child here, but you know all those mothers are saying they're identifying with those kids now. They're grown-ups. They got grandkids, the whole 9 yard aspect of it. So no one wants to talk about that issue. But the fact of the matter is, the illegal population has a political entity that represents them. And most of those folks who may have illegals living in their respective area, whether they've run with congressional district, whether gubernatorial, or this, that, and the other, they are now voters. They are voters who are citizens who happen to have been illegal at one point in time, but now they got a relationship. So guess what? They got to respond, if you will, to that group of folks.
I'd like to say something,
I'm just throwing something out there.
Very strongly and very clearly.
Good. Go on.
I do not believe everyone who immigrated here legally
I
or
agree. No, I agree. I agree with that. I
illegally
agree with
is
that.
a criminal.
No, that's right. I agree.
I think it's a very small percentage of humankind that just doesn't follow rules. And back to the homeless issue, there are a lot of people out on the street who are unable to follow rules,
That's right, yeah.
and our city isn't enforcing them. Now, if you happen to use, I'm going to go back to the wheelchair, you don't got you got that bad knee, getting across a sidewalk in certain areas is just so uncomfortable. Downtown should be a jewel. If you've had relatives or friends and they want to visit downtown, it's kind of an area you avoid. Because
we're a tourist state. We're a tourist state, the tourist area. Portland, not now, but at one point in time, the place to come in the Pacific Northwest was Portland, Oregon.
I hear you. The challenge that I'm having now with the sanctuary city status is that recently, in May, the federal government busted the head of the Sinaloa drug cartel. And much to my surprise, he was in Oregon. And I was just actually very surprised. This was in Salem, Oregon in May.
Got relationships. Think about it.
Well, we talk about gang violence. We talk about even, ethnic violence. We talk about, no one has ever talked about cartel violence in Oregon. So I just didn't imagine that that was a thing. And then I realized it was a thing. And then I thought, oh, perhaps this issue is more complicated than some people have looked at. And I wondered, that led me to my next question. I'm assuming that a city of this size would have information if we were at risk for any type of large scale danger. But given the disagreement between the various different political factions, I'm not sure the people would be made aware of any issues, because on one side you have liberals and leftists who say, oh, if you say anything about immigration, it's because you're racist.
Yeah.
On the
And
other
that's not
hand,
the case. That's not the case.
yeah, you
you're
have
right. You're
conservatives who say, well, they're illegal,
Yeah.
and some of them are asylum seekers, and that all they have to do is touch ground, so that but we need to come together and have discussions without it being about politics.
That's right.
This is about the safety of our city. How far is
And this
Salem
country.
from Portland? I know people who drive it every day.
Yeah.
So we have this huge drug problem, and more drugs pouring into our streets, coming from a variety of different, systems. One of them, unfortunately, being immigration. People are coming into this country with drugs. The other thing is, as a woman, I just cannot understand why other women who say that they're feminists would not want the government to look into some of the sex trafficking where women from other countries are being sex trafficked in Portland. These are not women who are coming here to get jobs. They're told they're coming here to get jobs. They're told they're going to be a maid or a nanny, and when they get here, they're forced into sexual labor. But because we do not have interaction with our federal officers, if these people are illegal, how does this work? There are a number of businesses that I look at and I never see the women come out. I never see them come for lunch, and I only see that they have a large number of male clients in these massage parlors in Southwest, along the main strips like Barber. And it seems to me that some sex trafficking might be going on. Who would you report that to, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, who's going to follow up on that? And the answer might be no one.
City of Portland,
Yeah.
the mayor's office, and the city councils, because there's 13 mayors now, many mayors. You got one on the mayor and all the city council. That's 12, right? 12 city councils and one mayor. So you got 13 people sitting in that seat right now. The mayor is not let's say Wheeler, Ted Wheeler was.
Yes, I understand.
You see where I'm coming from? But I'm talking for the lay person. That's what I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just representing them, so to speak. That's an issue. And saying then naturally, everybody-
I'm glad he's not in that position. So,
But the only reason why I made that point is that, with reference to him, is that he was elected with a certain platform, i.e. the 1,500 people you were saying about what they do in that piece. So consequently, he didn't have the budget. Now, his priority is getting that budget, the money, to meet that goal of 1,500 folks.
well,
And he has to go through those city council folks.
the number of homes that are being sold
Yes.
in my neighborhood indicates that people who live with a certain amount of means are leaving. There are four houses
that's the other
right
problem.
around where the new housing is supposed to be, and the homeless shelter. And these people just put their house up for sale. So, within a 2-block radius, 8 houses have been sold.
Wow.
8.
These are
And
bad.
they're Yeah, a couple of them just painted this summer, and they're putting them up for sale. So they're not expecting Portland to come back as a city. That tells me they're not expecting Portland to come back as a city. They're expecting that we're going to lose that federal funding due to the sanctuary city status. Now, what will happen then is you'll have people who are either unable to leave because financially they're not able to leave. So that includes poor people, that includes elderly people, people with families here that have deep commitments. Those people are going to stay and have a heavy, heavy, heavy tax burden. And you're not going to see innovation in the city. You're not going to see new companies come. It's a bit of an embarrassment. There's not even a Nike in Portland anymore. Downtown is empty. There's no white tablecloth restaurants that you can go to, because there are a few good restaurants downtown. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is downtown has just become a hazard. And I want to get back to that DEI piece and that flip-flop on the sanctuary. So we on one end you say you're going to protect the people, but no, you change your mind over here, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is about including people who historically haven't had an opportunity to succeed. So are you going to change the language so that people who are disabled can still participate, or do you no longer have to be inclusive? Does that mean that you'll just, if a person is deaf, you're just going to not give them the information that they need, right? If you're in a meeting, or are you going to use a teleprompter? So there's so many ways you can get around that. I was just like, he's probably just going to work his magic. But now what I want to say is that there are just two things going on. There's no other way to say it. He either does not have the solution, or he's incompetent implementing the solution. There are city councilors, and if he can't whip them into shape, they'll whip him into shape, or someone else will whip him into shape, or perhaps this isn't the position for him.
The voters.
This isn't position for him. So I've talked to many people, and I was focused on city council. I was like, this one's doing this, this one's doing this. Some of them are doing really great. It's like, I wish they could get together and just like do that great across the board. But that's not what's happening. So I asked people, how do you feel about the person in your area? Most people said they were not familiar with their representative.
That's right.
I was like, okay, and sure, okay, so they're new. And I asked them how they felt about their city, what the diversity, equity, and inclusion speech that was given by Mr. Wilson. And the interesting thing is whether they were part of a political party, not part of a political party, leftist, or right, they all said the same thing. I did not get one person who said, I think the mayor is doing a great job. He should continue in the way he's doing his job. I think he's doing a great job, a good job, or an adequate job on housing. Not one person said that. Not one person said that the DEI initiative that he changed course on was great. They felt like it might be necessary. However, they felt like when sanctuary city status came up, he did not do what was necessary. He did what was politically correct. So Keith Wilson, wishy-washy Wilson, because what will he do next? I have no idea, because what he said he would do, he hasn't done. Someone gave him a rating out of 2 out of 10. Someone said, when talking about him, I used the tagline, Mayors of Mystery. Where is Keith Wilson? He's right in front of our faces, but I'm not sure that we're requiring him to do much. It's like everyone is looking at everyone else saying, well, when is this housing 1,500 beds going to start? And of the 1,500 beds for the houseless, some of them are at Bybee Lakes. Bybee Lakes is not a housing, it's a housing facility for people who are interested in drug recovery and willing to take the steps and measures and comply with Bybee Lakes policies to stay there. It is not a homeless shelter. And so that means, I think they only have 50 beds there. That means most of the people on the street don't qualify for Bybee Lakes because they must be able to work and participate in the Bybee Lakes program. And a lot of people on the street right now are very much drug affected and they cannot participate. We don't have enough beds. I don't think there's any beds for women who are pregnant who are drug affected. Again, another problem. And while we're talking about these issues, it seems like the issues have been male dominated around violence. When we talk about, for example, ICE, but wouldn't ICE be the appropriate organization to free women from sex trafficking?
Good point. Good point. Question. That's a good question.
I think the police are overwhelmed. They can't do everything.
So who should respond to that?
Oh my gosh.
Should be the, excuse the French, on our old system of government, you'd respond that to the mayor. The mayor would be the spokesperson that the media would go to and ask them the question, right?
Well,
And
I'm
then
going
the
to say
city
this.
council get, then all of a sudden, if it is an issue, then he puts it in bang, 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 according to the format, go approach city council in an open meeting and say, hey, blah, 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 let's vote.
I think the city council actually agreed with his change to D.
Okay.
I don't think they liked it, but they supported it because they saw the loss of those millions of dollars not being something that the state could, the city could handle right now. Excuse me. So they went along with that.
Okay.
And but when it came to Sanctuary City, they put those same funds at risk. Now, the challenge is we have city council and we have mayor. And I do hold the mayor in high regard, and I believed the things that he said. Those things have turned out to not be factually true. 16% of 1,500 beds 6 months into it does not bode well for the rest of this year. I think he doesn't have a grasp on what's needed. And I think even when he's been told what's needed, he dismisses it or determines for himself, along with unknown parties, community partners, I don't know what parties he consulted. It doesn't seem like they were elected officials, because if he consulted elected officials to get to these poor decisions, I'd like to know who those officials are that he consulted with. And I'd like to speak to them about how they arrived at that decision. Do they have information that I don't have that led them to believe that they were making the right decision? Other than that, if there's also should be a record, so written record, just Freedom of Information Act to give me the written record of who you consulted with about this DEI initiative, that you found, not the language changing, don't care about that, just care about who thought it was a good idea to do that. I really like to know. As far as the Sanctuary City issue, I know they've just been standing on that. Tina Kotek has said that's important to her, and I'm just like, I thought Tina Kotek was in favor of supporting women, and I wonder if they've thought or allowed for the fact that some women are victims of illegal immigration as being trafficked. How do we fix that? How do we address that? We recall we had a problem with small children being brought to the United States, and then growing up and finding out they weren't even citizens. We had to address that because it's an actual issue. Someone comes when they're 6 months, they don't know if they're a citizen or not, right? So oftentimes they find out when they're 18, trying to go to college, fill out paperwork. We also have an issue with illegal trafficking, not just immigration, because immigration is a choice. You know, I want to go here. But trafficking, you're being pushed to go here. And also, when you get here, you may owe thousands of dollars to someone for getting you here and working in these different jobs and putting your life at risk. And frankly, I just don't think that the way the council is organized is going to be effective. The housing promise that Mayor Wilson made, that these 1,500 beds, apparently you cap out of having the shelter space after 90 days. We have people who've been unsheltered for years, 5, 6, 7 years. So how is 90 days? That just kicks the can down the road. And I realize we have no real solutions. There are no real solutions being offered at this time.
Let me throw something out there. I'm the lay person, right? That's why I'm going to ask some questions around that line. You're someone that's gone out and researched and spent the time to find out what are these issues, what are the problems, and looking for solutions too. As you, I know you that well, and so from a layperson's standpoint, when you think about the mayor of the city of Portland, majority of Portlanders feel that he is like Ted Wheeler. He's the entity that makes all the decisions about anything. They call his office 90% of the time they'll call the mayor. They don't call the city council folks. Okay, got me? So all of a sudden now, but on the other hand, when he got elected, hey, only thing I have to do is focus on my lane, which is those 1,500 beds. Visit the clergy and find me some space and have the money to pay them, if you will, to house these folks. That's his job. But on the other hand, then all of a sudden when he got elected mayor and sitting in that seat, a whole different ball game. Now these other entities that have controls of the monies and this, that, and the other, and the other thing is that what sort of a respect will Metro be giving them, because they're dealing in the whole issue of housing. What about Multnomah County? They're dealing in the. So my point is that he doesn't have the power that Portland used to have, sitting in that seat. He could negotiate. I'm just throwing that out as a layperson.
It's not as if anyone doesn't want to solve the housing crisis. I mean, people definitely want to solve it. I think you have to have a set of particular skills, and one of them that is required is has nothing to do with the skills we imagine. It's just communication. For example, he went to a meeting in the Pearl District and people voiced their concerns about crime and housing encampments. And he dismissed them. And you can go, I think it was in the Oregonian, but he was very dismissive.
Was it Pearl District?
Yes, at the Pearl District meeting. And I'm not going to quote him because I don't want to misquote him. But the words were very dismissive. And the article ended with a woman who was 71 years old saying, I don't think he gets it. I don't feel safe. She's like, how many times can I tell him that? And I think we're there. I just don't think he gets it. So I think he thought perhaps the 1,500 bed, which is a drop in the bucket, was a good offering for Portland. But he's delivered 16% of what he said he would deliver. Now, if I had set the standard, I wouldn't have said 1,500 beds. You know what I would have said? Closer to the amount needed. He picked less than 20% of the amount of beds actually needed. If he would have picked 6,000 to 8,000, that would have been a real challenge. Frankly, 1,500 beds is not that much of a challenge when we have vacancies, whole motels that are not being used, and those buildings could be converted. We have other buildings that can be converted. So 1,500 isn't the challenge that 6,000 would be because of having to build things. So he's not talking about building things as far as I know. I think he's talking about furnishing, which can be done very, very quickly. All in all, we have leadership that is not getting the job done.
Now, let me add one point, other point. I sort of remember the campaign because I interviewed him a couple of times. One of the areas he thought he was going to be spending quite a bit of time, and they would solve the 1,500 with the clergy. And the idea was that to get the people off the street at night, let them sleep, and then you release them.
There's a couple problems with that.
No, but I'm just sharing with you. That was one of the things that he was talking to. We got a lot of churches.
We do. And I remember one of them in Sunnyside, probably a lot of people remember this, that used to do very good work. And I remember working in the Multnomah County DIMS office one night really late. And I work, most of the time do my work at night, a lot of it. It's very quiet and I can do it undisturbed. And I saw something moving. And it was a plastic bag, and then I realized it was a man under a plastic bag. And I called someone, and they came and picked him up. They gave him some hot soup and took him to this shelter, and they were full, and they were like, "Oh, I don't think we can take any more." And they're like, "This guy's freezing."
That's a church, one church.
One church. And so they let him in that night, and the next day in Portland, 2 people died. One person died in a stoop because there was no requirement for shelters to open when precipitation was expected to be less than a certain amount. So even if it was freezing, it was like 29 degrees, if you weren't expecting 5 inches of snow, they didn't open up at that time. So that's exactly what happened. They started snowing and no shelters were open, and they were just out there in the snow, and a couple of them died. So what we have is just a failure of leadership. And I don't know any job that you could be in for 6 months, accomplish 16% of your goal, and still retain your job. Now, I'm not saying that responsibility is only on the mayor. I'm only relating that because he's the one who made that claim. Again, if I had made that announcement, I wouldn't have said I'm going to get to 1,500 beds. I would have given a more realistic number. I would have said the goal is 6,000 beds because that's the present need. 1,500 is a low bar.
But at the same time, and this is just another thought, I would have called Metro chair, I would have called Multnomah County chair, and we'd have a press conference with that. We'd negotiate how many beds are you going to be able to handle, how many beds are you going to have, and then when they announced that deal, like you said, it hits the whole total. He's the only entity that made that point, like you said. The others are still doing it. They're getting the money. They're talking about the housing and this, that, and the other. But his plea was very specific. Pick him off the street at night. Let him sleep. Wake him up the next.
That's the other issue. So you let them off out on the street, 6 o'clock in the morning, which is very cold in the winter, and even in the summer when everybody is trying to go to work. School buses are out, children are going to school. The very worst time to let people out with no work resources. So they obviously need to open up more day centers to have that strategy work.
Maybe the county could have done that.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
That strategy is a Pinocchio. That's a Pinocchio.
I understand that big time.
That's a Pinocchio. And I just recall the woman who was going to work at FedEx, and a woman in a tent had a dog on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And the dog bit the FedEx delivery driver, who was an older woman working to deliver FedEx. That's the kind of challenges we have. We know that we want business to continue in Oregon. You can't even get a FedEx package without somebody having to cross a tent and get bit. That is the kind of thing that can't happen anymore. It just can't happen anymore, and we're not going to wait another 5 years to have it change. It's going to stop. And you say, well, city council, all of these people are responsible in some way. But I am going to hold Mayor Keith Wilson responsible only to his own words. 1,500 beds, you're at 16%. What community partners did you talk to? Did you actually think of opening that up to community? Because no one ever discussed with me or my community that this change would be happening. So frankly, I'm shocked, disappointed, And I believe that Mayor Wilson is not trustworthy. At this point, I can't believe what he says because I'm watching what he's doing. And then the last of all of it, he says, I'm not a law and order guy. And I thought, well, that probably means you're not punitive. I'm not punitive. At one point, I was like, jail solves everything. It does not. It just makes people better criminals. I would like to see more resources into our community. I'd like to see more resources for women, women who are sex trafficked, domestic violence. These are actual issues, but we're spending that money elsewhere. We're spending it when we don't have it. And now, due to him not discussing with the federal government the sanctuary city thing, we're going to lose potentially $400 million. But it was okay for DEI, not for sanctuary cities. And elderly people who complain about your encampments, you're like, oh, that's okay. And you're not a law and order guy.
Well, share this with you. And that's one of the things that we're doing here. The reason why we're doing this, Rochelle, and because I know you, and I know you do your research work, you're very familiar with what's going on in the streets. And he needs to know that. He should have reached out to you. I mean, the system should have been in such a fashion, okay, we're going to reach out to you.
Someone should have.
But they
didn't.
So the whole idea was by having you on the show is that it gives him an opportunity, because there's a lot of folks that feels like you now today.
Well, I hope that when they
it's huge.
Understand what's going on, that they'll actually reach out to me.
Maybe he'll reach out to you, just basically sharing something here on the show.
I think it's too late.
Okay, no problem.
I think it's done.
Okay, he needs to know that.
I have lost confidence in his ability to lead. Maybe others haven't. When I open my email and I want to see what's going on in my neighborhood, it's, hey, somebody opened my garage. Hey, my car is gone. Hey, this. I don't think the mayor's responsible for crime.
And this is in Southwest Portland.
This is in Southwest Portland. But to sit there and say you're not a law and order guy when people are suffering, that's, I guess, when you live that kind of life, that's a very elite life, that you don't have to worry about the suffering of others. You don't have to worry about perhaps your car being stolen. Some of us park on the street. It's a little dicey. So I think he's failed to lead because he fails to understand the problem. The verbiage that he used at that Pearl District meeting, if you read that, is enough for you to understand he does not understand the problem. He dismissed people's concerns about the encampments that they have to pass to, go to the grocery store and things like that. So I just don't think he's up to solving it, and I think the best answer is that we have a discussion that results in a new mayor. And so as a result of what I've learned, and as a result of his negligence around the city, Mayor Keith Wilson deserves to be recalled.
Well, he needs to know that.
Pardon?
He needs to know that.
He not only does he need to know he should be recalled,
right.
He will be informed that he is being recalled.
Okay.
So that's actually not the PAC's job, but I haven't formally announced it. I guess I just formally announced it. Yeah. So, okay, Oregon Voters Digest, you heard it here. Mayor Keith Wilson, I did file paperwork to start the recall process for Mayor Wilson. This needs to be done. Portland has suffered enough. People who have incomes and funds, they're just moving, and then we're going to be left with no tax base. So we're going to lose the money from the potential sanctuary city. If we lose that lawsuit, don't know, but we're also going to lose the money from our citizens, no matter what, who are choosing to move outside of the city and even outside of the state, because they say Portland is the 4th worst city to live in. And I was like, wow, that's pretty bad. And they say it's because of the economy. It costs so much to live here for the quality of life. And it used to be different. The livability factor is something he doesn't seem to understand. So on one hand, he's promising all this housing. He's delivered 16%, and I believe he's actually trying.
Okay.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because if I saw him succeeding, I would say we don't need to recall him. We can just keep letting this go. How long do we keep letting the same problem fester?
Yeah.
We have voted over and over again, metro bonds, all kinds of bonds to solve this issue.
Yeah.
But yet we're still faced with this. And I think the mayor, unfortunately, right or wrong, is the face of the problem because he's so committed to being responsible for solving this. He said he would end unsheltered. He didn't say the city council, he didn't say metro. He personally took responsibility for that. And I feel that. And I feel by him saying, I'm not a law and order person, what he's really saying is the victims of crimes are not important to him. And I'm not sure if he meant it to land that way. But as a person who has had some challenges with, things being stolen and things like that, I mean, who hasn't been a victim of crime in Portland lately? Knock on wood, hopefully we're not. But I feel like that was just really just an odd thing to say, a very dismissive thing to say. I think we need some law and order. I'm not saying that we need the police to over-police. What I'm saying is we need to end homelessness, as you said, so that the police can actually do their jobs, which isn't arresting the houseless. And that's what they do 50% of the time. So it's all related. And then the sanctuary city thing, I don't know how many people that they arrest that are immigrants and whether they'd be illegal or legal, because they can't ask, right?
Right.
So we don't know. We don't know if it's 10%, 15%, 20%. But the fact that I don't know if this city is safe, and the mayor or no city council person has come out to say, well, we don't need this because we're so safe, shocks me.
And you, the public, are paying for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're paying for it.
Taxes. You're
But
paying for it. You're paying
I'm
for
not sure why the federal government would come out and make a statement that there are challenges. Is Mayor Wilson saying that he doesn't believe the federal government? And my challenge is, again, I spent some time in the intelligence community in Arlington, Virginia, and DC, and I want to see that I'm safe. I want to see that you did some kind of a risk study, like you did with the, earthquakes. So your chances of being impacted by, what are my chances of being impacted by your sanctuary city laws? Because I feel like they have impacted me negatively. I won't get into details with that, but I feel like some of them have impacted me negatively. I would say that, yes.
Well, that's why you're here. That's why we wanted to give you this time to share with them, because a lot of folks are feeling just like you are.
Well, I do hear that, and I hope they'll come out. I hope they'll comment, because definitely it's going to take a number of us to make this recall work. This is a recall. It's going to require funding. We're the little guys. We are not the big guys. It's going to require knocking on doors, telling your friends, but I don't think it'll take much to convince them. I'm pretty sure they're already convinced. If you ask people about how you think the city is doing, do you think the city is functioning? No. Keep Portland weird. We got to get rid of that saying. I said keep Portland sane.
Well, maybe I don't know. I'm going to use somebody else. Let's get Portland great again. I hate to put it. Let's just get. Hey, hey.
I'm just even trying to get to
great.
neutral ground.
I heard that.
Neutral ground. This is such a beautiful city, and I'm just saddened.
Well, on that particular note, we're going to have to cut out at this point in time, but thank you very, very much. This has been very good, and we want to follow up on this piece. So
yes,
please,
it's a recall.
Let's look at what we do when that happened. Please let us share with the folks how they can get involved with your situation.
I will.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Always good, Michelle. Okay, Bruce Broussard, hey, have a good one. I'll see you next week. Enjoy the movie. Give her a call. We should have put your phone number up there.
Hmm?
Not